great little tune. Now I have to click on the got it thing. Yes, okay, so that was Elma Wick's impression of the Copac. But now you need to turn to page 18 in your book, boys and girls, or in your PDF. And it's the same, it's the same tune. It's just in the key of G instead, and there is a lovely harmony part, if I do say so myself. So I'm just going to play through the whole thing as is with me on the melody, nice and slow. There may be some things that might freak you out, like the first note is really 4 notes. And it's very traditional to sort of arpeggiate the chord a bit. But if you can play at least the top 3 notes all at once, it's really kind of nice. And then you can sort of lean into the G string. So that's a very interesting thing. And if that's the only thing you want to try to do, then you can leave out all the notes in between. So you could go 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2, 2 and 1 and 2, you know, just pick out some parts. But I'm going to play it slowly enough that you'll probably be able to get most of the notes most of the time. And then I'll open the floor up for questions. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. Just sort of flows along. Any questions so far? It's not really a difficult tune, it's just kind of fun. So let's try it again, fast. For me, fast would be, well, you know, I think of that traditional Russian dance where the guys sort of crouch and they have their hands folded and they sort of do a can kind of thing with their feet while they're not even sitting on anything. It's very incredible. Anyway, so I'm thinking 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Here we go. So you just have to keep going. I made a couple of mistakes, but I didn't let that stop me. Embarrassing, but fun. So leaving out notes is fine. You could also make some of the notes longer, like the ones that you wish were longer, but they're not. Like in the second section, instead of that, you might want to play just the first note of that 16th grouping. That can just make a smoother transition into the other sections. Let's do it again. I'll pull back the tempo a little bit, and this time I'm going to play the harmony. And you should play the melody or the harmony, or if you want to just do the chords. That'll work. Good luck. So I'm thinking 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Ready, go. Okay, let's go back to the beginning and do it a little faster, but I'll still play the harmony because I like it. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, go. Fun stuff. Very easy to add some open strings all along the way if you wanted to make it a bigger deal. So instead of just, you could go just the open string to the left. And it's just much fuller for very little effort. So I think it is totally worth it. Anyone have any questions on that one so far? Teresa, you have your hand raised. What a good girl. Can you unmute so I can hear your question?
Yes. All right. In measure 10, are you staying in first position or are you going to, I think you are. Is anyone going to like third position? Because that's a hard crossover, it seems to be for me.
Yes, I debated that amongst myself. I initially decided that I should do something fancier like that, but then I realized once you add the speed, if I leave my third finger down when I'm going to the E string, then the string crossing is a little bit less of a hassle.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So that's what I do.
Okay, I always forget that. Yeah, that's a good tip. Okay, thanks.
The other thing is, in terms of, it's always, it's Lucy. There's always a loophole. Okay, so here's a loophole. So during that open E, you could put your hand anywhere. So my instinct would be second position, which keeps that lick all on one string, which is pretty low risk. I find so often folks forget about second position. We learn first position, and then we're usually taught third position, and then second position is just so convenient. It's like an access road, to where you want to go. So that's what I like about that. But this is just a hoedown. You could use this at a dance where people don't know much of anything, and they would just assume it's just a regular hoedown. It's just got that oomphy kind of thing. Any other questions or comments about this particular tune? Okay. We go onward to Bandura Waltz, page 8. Now this gives me the opportunity to push a concept that I don't know if you guys have dealt with before, but so often, if you can sing a piece of music at sight, that's often the best way to introduce yourself to the tune. And in this case, because I really love the chord progression and the where it starts and the where it ends up, I just wanted to make sure you guys were familiar with the chords. Am I at all in tune? Close enough. Now, the thing you should know, first of all, is that the bandura is a big deal in the Ukraine. It is a Ukrainian instrument. If you saw it and you didn't know what the heck it was, you would be convinced it was a Dr. Seuss string instrument. You got to look it up. I could YouTube videos of the bandura. Very fun. The fun thing about this tune for me, chord-wise, is that it's in D minor. You put a tune in D minor, what could go wrong? However, the first chord is actually an A major. If you're familiar with the ebb and flow of chords, that's one of my favorite diversions. The D minor would be the 1 chord. The A major would be the 5 chord. D, E, F, G, A. So that kind of a relationship is very interesting. And there are some wonderful, interesting tunes out there where the tune does not start out with the tonic chord. In this case, the tonic chord is a D minor, but it starts with an A. Almost as though the first 2 bars are a pickup to bar number 3. It's a philosophical thing. So I'm gonna just up to let's see, up to measure 32, because then the melody repeats. So I want you guys to sing along. A-ish. Pick your octave. 1, 2, 3, go. just doesn't get any better than that. I just love it. My interest in the Ukrainian tunes was partially because of the war, but then I realized my grandpa Julius, whom I never met, was born in a little town just south of Chernobyl. What a charming place to be from. And then he fought in the army of Tsar Nicholas II, and then he got out of there. That's how come I got to be here. And from what I can tell from what my father told me, that my grandfather taught himself how to play the violin. And I didn't think very much of it as I was growing up, but we have constantly observed how a lot of times the passion for a thing will often skip a generation. And I started reading these tunes and playing these tunes, and I felt a tugging on my DNA that I just never, ever expected. But I know my grandpa played some of these tunes. I just know it. So for those of you who happen to know where your ancestors are from, you should explore the folk music from that region, because you will probably understand your whole family tree a little better. So let's do Bandura Waltz. And that's the tempo, man. It doesn't need to go any faster. And we'll do the whole thing. We will not take the repeat on page 2. Enjoy. I hope you like my double stops. They're kind of fun. You need a fourth finger to do them, but it's worth it. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, go. Second ending. Isn't that luscious? It's just so cool. So let's do it again. Same tempo. I'll play the harmony because you don't need me to play the melody. You guys can do that. It's great. Just don't cry. 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, go. So cool. Another interesting feature with this tune is the extreme use of arpeggios. There's an A major arpeggio a couple times, a lot of times. Let's see where else. That's really the main one. I like to add some slides in here. So, for example, not too much. And we were talking about ornaments the other night. One of the most fun ornaments for me is the mordent, M-O-R-D-E-N-T, because it's a one-note thing. You go for it. If it happens, it happens. If you miss it, no one will know. It's just a one-note thing. So what you do is you pick a note that you think you want to ornament, play the note above the note, and then go right back to that first note. So in this measure, let's see, measure 6 is without the double stop. So instead of that, I could, or if I wanted to be really obnoxious, that might be too much, but it's fun to know I could do it if I wanted to. Maybe if I was playing it at a dance and it was like the 10th time I'm playing the tune, I would probably definitely add all those extra notes because it's fun.
I think
Any
Rob
questions?
Rob had a question. Rob raised his hand.
Yeah, for those of us not classically trained, who don't do positions very much at all, though I did buy the book, so one of these days. The really interesting little chords where your double stops, looking down here where you go, say if you're sliding up to you're double stopping. One note is sharp, the other is not. Nowhere to go. I had it here.
Are you at measure 47 by any chance?
Well, it's a distinct possibility. Yes. Well,
Okay.
yeah. There's a couple where you're. That one I could hack. I was looking at, maybe it was the other one, but you've got a couple of double stops. Here it is. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Measure 6. You go from a nice, easy in 5, a double stop, first finger down. And the second time you're doing the third finger down, but you're doing a sharp on the lower. So are you using the fourth finger on your lower string to get that sharp?
Yes.
Okay.
It's the only finger I could move there. I mean, a lot of times when I pick a double stop, I want it to sound good. I also want to be able to physically get there from where I am. So as I was, thinking of that, I did not want to disrupt the motion of, which means I couldn't use my third finger and I couldn't use my second finger and then, and the first finger. So, it was my only option.
Okay.
There was no loophole.
I was just wondering if there's magic somewhere out there that I was missing other than trying to pound my fourth finger down over the third.
Yeah. And when I do place my fourth finger, I am, in a tactile sense, I am touching my third.
Yeah.
And then I'm getting away from it right away. And it just doesn't sound as clear. So I just use it on that first beat. So yeah, there were a couple of places, but otherwise, and that happens a little later, but then you get to places like measure 15, where the top voice, the melody, has a sustained note, and you don't want to disrupt that either, but you can't just let it out there. And that's just kind of boring by itself, particularly given the fact that you're probably going to already sound great with the double stops you've already been using. So people's expectations have grown by that time in the tune. So I love doing, when you go from the D minor to the D7, it's just so cool. I love when the note is the same, moving up, or sometimes going in the opposite direction. I find that to be a lot of fun and very rewarding. Yeah, I guess that's about all I have to say about the double stops.
Yeah, if it goes on with the B part on the second finger, you got to slam the third finger down on the lower string, and
Yeah.
that's different for me. So I'll work it.
And you could leave it out. It's just I felt like it. So
Yeah, I guess that
Amazing.
my question is that you put in the double stop, so this is your interpretation. So it's something that you're suggesting. So you could do them all, you could do none of them, you could do some of them.
Right, and you could
Is that
put
what I'm
it in a
saying?
different key. Yeah, yeah, it's just me. I listened online to another fiddle player teaching the tune, and he played the tune once, and then he played a variation on the tune that I just hated. He played it very well, and it was a valid procedure in terms of theme and variations, but I just didn't want to mess with it. I wanted to sort of keep it the same. The melancholiness of it is just incredible, but you can't get there outside of D minor. I think D minor had to be the key for this tune.
One last quick question, just for down the road when I know how to do positions, maybe. Measure 55 to 56. What position are you playing that in?
Third position.
Okay, thank you.
So what happens is, well, you just sort of have to get there. So I'm then putting my first finger where the third finger would have been. And then once I do that, the lower note just falls on the third finger on the A string. And then I sharpen it for that. So once you get there, so to practice that, I would isolate that one place and just, a few million times until your dog screams. So going from the second finger G to the first finger A. Just treat it like a bird call. Just do it over and over and over again. And hopefully you'll be glad you spent the time to get it done.
That came in the mail the other day, so I am prepared. It's just going to take a while.
The rest of your life, don't kid yourself.
Yeah,
These
a while.
things are just, and every tune you apply it to is going to be different.
Okay.
So that's sort of weird. Yeah. Anyone else have any questions or comments? Okay. Well, let's proceed to page 62. Now, this one I picked before I knew about the nuclear power plant in Zaporizhzhia. It is still there, from when I checked the news, it's still there. Anyway, I picked it because I tend to organize my tunes in albums, and it's cute to see it on the screen like a real thing. I tend to organize my tunes in alphabetical order, and then I do a review. So like every month I try to review most of the tunes that I know that I don't want to lose. And once you get to the, after Yarmouth Reel, there's really not a whole lot for the letter Z. So I pounced on this tune because I thought, oh great, I've got a Z tune and it's Ukrainian and it's very cool. So I'm going to just play the first phrase. And I want those of you who are old enough to remember the Monty Python Flying Circus to see if this stirs up any memories in your audio ear. Raise your hand if you can name that tune. Mary Pat knows that tune. Tell the people what it is.
He's a lumberjack and he's okay.
Right. So that's the chorus. But this actually reminds me of the verse. I cut down trees, I wear high heels. Yes, that's what it is. And you gotta wonder, chicken or the egg? It's just so possible. So I love this. So it could be fast, but I sort of feel it in a polka tempo, a nice moderate polka tempo. So let's try the whole thing with the repeats. Let's see, and I'm looking ahead to see if there might, I don't think you guys will have any problems. I do have some slurs over bar lines, over the strong beats. I tend to like to do that. Like right at the beginning. So often in a classically trained thing, you would either be taught or, but I like, it just swings. So have a good time, everybody. 1 and 2, 1, 2, 1, and we'll do it with the repeats. 1 and go. Did you make it to the second ending okay, or did you get stumped? Just a little tricky thing. So it could go quite a bit faster. Any questions on it so far? See, you guys know what you're doing. So let's do it again a little faster. 1, 2, thinking. 1, 2, ready, go. That's a good tempo. Cool little tune. So let's do it again. Any questions first? Anything particularly driving you nuts? In terms of notes to leave out, you don't have to play all those 16ths just because they're there. You could go, let's see, particularly if people keep speeding up around you. Maybe get there the first time and it was a struggle. Then when you do the repeat, don't feel obligated. And that'll work just fine. Cool. All right, let's do it again. I'm going to play the harmony, nice and fast. Enjoy. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Here we go. Great tune. it's just a really straightforward little tune. I think we should probably play all those tunes again one more time. But does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, I was wondering because with this tune, it kind of is in the lower octave and then the higher octave. Was that your interpretation? Okay, all right.
Yep.
I like it.
'Cause
I
I
was just want to check it. Yeah.
You know, it's such a great tune. Playing it, it's like you can't just eat one potato chip. So I just wanted to play it some more because it's so cool. On a side note, I've been researching some Beethoven pieces, and it turns out that in their lifetimes, Beethoven and Haydn, they were hired by publishers to create vocal or sometimes instrumental with piano works of traditional folk songs from Scotland and England, and of course at the time it was Russian, the Ukraine, it was like pre-Ukraine. And so there's a wonderful tune on page 52 that you need to look up on YouTube because it's very funny, and it's called You Deceived Me. There's also, I can't pronounce the Ukrainian, but it goes, and it's just a silly little tune about this girl who leads on her fella, and she says, oh yes, I'll meet you downtown, and then he's not there. She's not there. And this goes on for like 5 or 6 verses. It's very fun. But here's the melody that Beethoven actually arranged for piano. And it's just adorable. I wish I could sing it in Ukrainian, but it's very, very funny, very funny. It's just amazing how much people went through in those days. I have one anecdote that my father told me about my grandpa Julius, whom I never met. That when Julius was a little boy, he had a friend whose father was very rich, and the father was so rich that he paid my grandfather to be the whipping boy for his son. So whenever his son would do anything wrong, he would whip my grandfather. And of course, they were very good friends, and so the son made sure that he behaved as much as possible because he didn't want my grandfather to get beaten up. But in exchange for that, my grandfather was given access to the family library, and he taught himself how to read and write, and he taught himself how to play the violin. That's where I come from. Amazing. Yeah. So let's do both of the Hopacks again. Or is there another tune from the book that anyone is curious about? I could share that with you as well. Well, let's start with the Elmo Wick, and then if anyone has a particular title that jumps out at them, let me know. So the Elmo Wick Hopack. And let's do it a little faster than we did it the first time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. So easy to add double stops. Usually my first line of defense is to add the open string to the left of wherever I am. And that will usually either give me something wonderful or I'll know never to do that again and I'll try something else. So now let's do the Hopack from page 18. Good scrolling, Mary Pat. There it is, sort of. Those are all great tunes if I do say so myself. notice, boys and girls, of course, that this book is in alphabetical order. I tend to think that way. Makes a difference. Okay, nice and fast. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Ready, go. That went by so fast because we played it fast. Okay, now onward to the emotional Bandura Waltz. We will not take the repeat on the second page. And this is one where you guys can play the harmony part and sing the melody. It's just very freeing to be able to do that, particularly when you're all muted. No one will know. It's wonderful. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, go. So emotional. Zaporizhzhia, I think. Anyway, there we go. Scrolling, scrolling, scrolling. Mary Pat is scrolling. Okay, Zaporizhzhia. Nice, modest polka tempo. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, go. Great tune, just great little tune. Any questions? Ruth, do you really have no questions, or are you just being polite? I should probably take advantage of the opportunity to clue you in on some of the more difficult tunes that you may want to try. Well, the one that really always jumps out at me, because when I first entered into this project, there were only 2 tunes that I knew from the Ukraine, and this was one of them, page 20. And I cannot pronounce the Ukrainian, but the English translation is play or give back the money. By the way, a lot of these titles were translated for me by an acquaintance I know in Lincoln, who's really a bass player and a painter, and Ukrainian by birth, and he was able to translate a lot of these titles for me. And his wife is in Kyiv taking care of his parents. Leaves me breathless. But this is a great tune. There's lots of notes to leave out. I wouldn't have to hazard a guess as to which notes to leave out because they're all so very cool. So let me play it for you. Play or give back the money real fast. And then if you're not exhausted, you go ahead and you do the repeat. And then the next section goes... It's a lot of moving by step. So when you misstep, you feel like a real idiot because, well, it was only 1 note away. It's just very fun. The next section. I definitely like to slide up to that one. Sudden it's A minor. Where did that come from? The second ending goes... goes, but that transition into the F major section is just unexpected, and it's just, whoa, from A minor, who would have, I don't know who would have done that, but it was like going from the 35 to the second ending to the F. And it's just amazing. Okay, the only other one that I knew before I started this collection, Ebba Polka, page 16. It's another great tune. And most of these are easier than these two, but you know how it goes, boys and girls. One thing leads to the other. Lots of string crossings. Starts out in C, goes to G, goes to C, goes to F. I'll just do it with the second endings only for my own sanity. It's just a cool tune. Ebba Polka. Are you exhausted yet? I try to just do it. So I leave my hand with the 3 and the 2. that F section, just single notes the first time, but then I'll show you what I do the second time, which I think is kind of clever, if it's not too braggy. Goes right back to the beginning and you just keep going, going, going. It's delightful. So that's really all I know about this stuff, except I love to play it and it just grabs at my DNA like nothing else has ever done. I was really immersing a lot in these tunes, and then I had a gig, where was I? Tecumseh? I don't know, it was south. And I usually, when I drive to a gig, I like to listen to rock and roll, and it just gets me going, and it's really nice, and it's a change of pace from what I'm usually playing. But I found myself switching channels, stations more often than I usually do, because the tunes, although I love rock and roll, it just lacked the substance of these tunes. It's just thick. It was like water, but these are just wine and just gorgeous stuff. So I love it. So I hope you guys explore the rest of the tunes in the book, because they're all really neat.